is between us.
The number one podcast in the world.
This is
the JBU.Show featuring Austin,
from the Miller Talk Podcast,
Allen,
the American Sincerist,
and now your host,
Cam Allen.
All right, how's it going, everybody? My name is Chris, and this is the JBU.Show. Joining me tonight from the Miller Talk Podcast, Austin. How you doing, brother?
Doing great.
Good to see you. It's been, what, at least a week since we've been on?
Yeah, man. Took some time off, had a birthday and everything.
Whoa, you had a birthday? Or you went to a birthday?
Yeah. I had a birthday.
God damn it, when was your birthday?
The day of my birth happened.
Today?
It was May 5th.
Oh, May 5th. How the fuck did I, because you told me, and I fucking wrote it down, because I was like, oh, he told me, I'll fucking remember. Look at that. I'll be a real friend. And then I completely fucking forgot, man. I'm sorry. Happy birthday, belated.
Thank you. Thank you.
If it makes you feel any better, I haven't remembered my dad's birthday for like 10 years.
If it makes you feel any better, I don't know when your birthday is, so.
That's all right. Nobody else does either. It was a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
I think you told me
the
happy
only
birthday.
birthday that's important is mine, so.
Obviously. So we got a ton to talk about since we haven't. I think this is the longest break I've taken since we started going live. And I'm not necessarily back from the break, just to be clear. I just wanted to come on today. And so Austin wanted to come on. It worked out. Here we are. Look at that. Let's go to our first video before I talk myself into a corner.
42.
Nope. Try
27.
No. How many planets are in the solar system?
17.
Yes. Who is this?
Did you see who it was?
Yes.
That's your boy.
That's George Washington.
Oh, no.
Abraham Lincoln.
If I'm being honest, I didn't know he was shot.
Who is this?
Wasn't far.
She didn't know Abraham
Oh,
Lincoln
my.
was shot.
Anne Franklin.
She is
Helen Keller.
Anne Franklin.
What two parts of Congress is there?
Legislative. And justice.
No. Who's the first president of the United States?
Come on. Thomas Jefferson.
George.
Oh.
So apparently there's a trend going on TikTok. You know who that is? You know why that video is
No.
significant? That's
No.
a teacher. That is an American teacher
Oh.
that has just graduated to become a teacher. And you can, you know, I'm sure that we'll have all sorts of leftists sending me nasty emails after this telling me how, you know, she's a kindergarten teacher and she needs to know this shit. First of all, every fucking American should know this shit. She should know that shit from elementary school. But if you're going to go on and teach children in America, these are like the most basic fundamental facts that you could possibly know. And it's a disgrace that so many of us don't know them already. But to think that we require 4-year degrees of teachers, which the only reason we require that is, one, because Democrats needed to fund money to the schools that fund their campaigns, the colleges, and two, because they needed to indoctrinate them so that they could indoctrinate younger children. Getting into the schools was part of the plan from the beginning. We know that. We've looked at the plans where they talk about it back in the early 20th century. It's not about educating them. It's about indoctrinating them to indoctrinate your children. And I'm not sure that there's any clear, you know, there's all this argument that you should not homeschool your kids. You can't homeschool your kids. You are not good enough to homeschool your kids. That bitch is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally.
She's qualified, Austin. You're not qualified.
No. I don't have a piece of paper that says that I am.
What if your 10-year-old needs an abortion? What if he decides he wants to cut his dick off? Are you qualified to handle that, Austin?
No.
She is.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely insane, dude.
How has it gotten here?
What in the hell is that? Oh god, I should have opened with this video. I'm gonna provide this with zero context.
Here we go.
Matter of fact, I'm gonna go full screen for the viewers, just so you can enjoy this.
Stay! You can control them? No, that one. I broke my own. Mine's bigger. Sycamore! Stay! You can control them?
All right.
No, that one. I broke my own. Mine's bigger. Sycamore!
So, that's them intimidating us. More specifically, MAGA, and I wouldn't necessarily refer to myself as MAGA, but that's the purpose there, apparently. Do you know what that audio is from? I don't have the slightest clue.
No, I was about to say, would it make more sense if I knew the context of what show, movie, whatever that's from?
Probably not. Probably
Otherwise, they
not.
kind of just look dumb.
At least somebody said it. I wasn't going to, but I'm glad somebody did. Kinda? They kinda look dumb?
Mm-hmm.
So, before we get to a first story here, let's start with this. I want to show you a picture that it really warms the cockles of my heart.
Oh
to see.
boy.
So many
I
American...
haven't had the cockles of my heart warmed in a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. But so many American companies just, really celebrate the chance to be American and the privilege of being American and the 250th anniversary of the greatest country to ever fucking exist. And of course, that's a fucking lie because this is an AI-generated image. Why has not just from a strictly financial point of view, has not a single company capitalized on the fact that it's the 250th anniversary? Why do you think?
Because they're all gay. They're all gay.
Yeah, but gay people can like America. They should.
Not anymore.
It's the only fucking country that allows them to get married.
Mm-hmm. The only country that pretty much allows them to be gay.
That too. They can be gay in Europe. I mean, they're all gay in Europe, but
Yeah, it's
you will
just
still
a
get
part of being European, but
you will still get raped by foreigners, but you can be gay. Anyway, I think it's because there's so many fucking leftists that absolutely hate this country. They don't hate what this country is doing. They hate this country. And so they're afraid to do it. The fact is, we were more patriotic in 2001 than we are today, by far. And this is literally what we saw. We talked about it the other day privately. You were a little too young to remember this time, but this is literally what we saw in 2001. We saw this sort of thing. Everything was red, white, and blue. Everything was celebrating being American. And fuck those, guys in the desert, because I'm not wanting my YouTube to get struck again. We're American. And I don't know. Is it just Trump? Is it TDS? Is that what it is? They don't want to celebrate America's 250th because it's become so tied to Trump?
Yeah, that's part of it because he's the president during the 250th. If Kamala would have won, I'm sure there'd been some sort of, excitement
be all
and
over
buzz coming from those people. But
there'd be gay tranny tits and red, white, and blue up and down every block in America.
mm-hmm.
Of course, it would only be symbolism. There would be, no actual understanding. It would be a redefining of what America is, because it would just be yet another opportunity to redefine it. But there would at least be, a feigned patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
It's honestly depressing. I had Grok make this image, and it's depressing every time I look at it. Because I don't know. I've always said I have a great affinity for this country, and I always have, without really realizing it, until I got older anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no possible way to learn about this world without recognizing how fucking amazing what we have here in the United States is. And the fact so few people are, not just the fact that so few people are willing to celebrate that, but the fact that so many are profiting from it, whether financially or just profiting from living here, without any regard or respect to why they're able to do so. There's no other way to put it than it fucking offends me.
Yeah. It
Maybe
makes no sense that we're not just cranking out American flag apparel and everything. Like, why aren't all the sports teams repainting their fields and courts and everything to American flag and wearing American flag jerseys and just singing the national anthem 24/7?
100%. And you know what?
Are we waiting for the 2 weeks before when we can set off fireworks?
I'm a very subtle tone kind of guy. I wear black, white, and gray is the extent of my closet. But I think that I'm going to find some sort of way to make sure that I'm wearing some form of red, white, and blue the rest of the year. Because I guess I shouldn't be bitching about it if I'm not doing the same. I don't know. I'll get a hat or
you're going to talk
something
about it, you got to be about it, brother.
Exactly. Well, now I know what I'm doing after the show. I guess I'm going and buying some new clothes. Anyway, you got a story you want to get into, or you want me to roll with one?
Man. I don't know if we want to go here.
Oh, I want to go there. I don't know if you want to go there.
Oh, man. Our favorite little guy has finally been outed. Nick Fuentes was funded by the Democrats and was a paid shill this entire time.
Allegedly. Do we have proof?
He admitted it.
Let's see it.
Was I supposed to have it ready?
Yeah, you're supposed to have it ready. Do you need me to pull it up?
Man, I mean, I can find it, but, he came out and said that Republicans have betrayed him too many times, and he is now telling all of his supporters to vote Democrat because this is the only way that we can show the Republicans that we are fed up.
I mean, he's been saying that for a while now, but he still does he not still hold on to the fact that he is supposedly Republican and is just he's just angry at them? Here, I got it. Let's hear him.
I care about affordability. I care about foreign interventions. I care about the border.
Okay.
I'm a non-woke moderate Democrat. I think the GOP needs to be destroyed. I think the corrupt criminal government of Trump needs to be slowed down.
The corrupt criminal government of Trump. Okay.
Yep.
We need to impeach the orange. It's time.
Yep.
Have you ever heard a Republican refer to him as orange? I mean, don't get me wrong, his blood type is orange, but have you ever heard a Republican refer to him as orange man or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think so, but
I haven't either, so that's good evidence towards your claim here.
Time to put this nigga in a peach. Trump needs to be placed inside of a crystal. He needs to be impeached. This fat orange, tiny hands needs to be impeached. And then in 28, no Vance, no Rubio. We have to burn down the whole party. I care about
controlled op.
Yeah. I think so. I think it goes without saying we don't agree with that here.
I knew on that Crowder episode exposed him, man.
Yeah, because if you go back,
he didn't come out and say it. He danced around the line the entire time. He was on his best behavior to sound conservative. That's what I ultimately got from that Crowder interview. Is that he was trying to sound conservative.
And that was exactly what Crowder said, was that, usually when he sees him before he spoke to him, he said that usually when he sees him talk to people, he'll tone it down. But then, we'll go on to say other shit later, and that's exactly what we've seen. I mean, if you go back and watch him on Crowder, you wouldn't be able to find the difference between him and Crowder damn near. And then you watch him every day since then, and he's just a fucking... What did I say to you last night? He's a black pill dealer for junkies. Like, if you want to burn it all down, you're no fucking use to us. You're no help. You are not a patriot. You are not a conservative that is trying to preserve the republic. You're just fucking useless, and you're falling into the victimhood mentality trap of the left. I think is the best way I can sum it up, at least at the moment. Nothing good comes from burning it down. So while I do still think we need to say allegedly, and that this is opinion, I agree with your opinion that he is just controlled op. It's a very good metric. And I think, who did I hear this from? Andrew Heaton, who I think is a weak-kneed coward. But he is a fairly intelligent man, too. And he said, if you're trying to determine if somebody is just a grifter or if they're controlled opposition or whatever it is, ask yourself, what would they do if they were? And if you can't find any daylight between, what they would need to do to be a grifter or be controlled opposition and what they actually do, then they probably are. And whether he is or isn't, that's what he is effectively. And I know we'll get a lot of heat from the Fuentes crowd just saying this, but dude, he has no, at best, if I'm going to be as charitable as possible and say he is a strong conservative that truly does believe in the same principles and values that I do. He obviously doesn't, because he wouldn't be advocating for the things he does if he did. But if I'm trying to be as charitable as possible and claim that he does, he just sees them a different way, right? Then I would have to say he is incredibly ignorant. He has no understanding of how these things actually work, of the evil that people in Washington are actually up against. On either side, there's good people on both sides. I'm not claiming that all one side is evil and all one side is good. There is evil in both parties all the way around 100%. And the few good people that we do have, it's almost impossible to explain the wall of evil that they're up against. You just have to see it through experience. And when you do, you understand that he has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. None. It's not as easy. Trump is not a fucking dictator. He can't just make this shit happen. And he's also human and fallible. He might make mistakes. Speaking of which, and I probably should have titled the episode this, because anytime I make a mistake, I try to make sure that that's the title of the episode, because I want to be as upfront as possible about that. We got to talk about Iran for a minute. I didn't want to go into Iran to begin with, but I said at the beginning that I will give Trump some leeway because I do think that it needed to be done. I just didn't like that we were doing it right now. But I understood why we were doing it right now, because the opportunity was right. But I gave him 3 months, 90 days. That was how long he had till he had to go to Congress to get permission to continue operations, military operations. Now, to be honest, that's bullshit, because Bush, Obama, Biden, they all carried on military operations with no congressional authorization, on and on and on, their entire presidencies. So it's not entirely true. But if we're pretending the rules exist again, as the left loves to do every time a conservative gets into power, he would have 90 days. And so I said, I'll give him the 90 days. 90 days is up, or at least it's very close to up, and I might not be on the air when it is, so I don't know exactly what day. I don't know if we're past it or just before it. Yeah, I've heard some people say both. So I'm not happy with where we are, and I think that Trump has made some tactical errors. And you're still not going to get me to jump ship on the man. I can call this a mistake, and I can say that he fucked up here without, throwing him away as a president altogether. I think that we're going to suffer for this. I think that, I think that we have made tremendous gain out of it. Not as much as we were promised, and not as much as I think we could have in this amount of time. And that's why I'm upset about it. The fact that it's still going on is what I'm really upset about. And the only real hope he has for redemption at this point is that he's able to, pull it together in some relatively decent time frame. Because in the long run, if he can manage to pull this off, meaning he can pull off the regime change in the sense that he's already kind of caused a regime change in the sense that the regime that existed is dead. However, there are clearly still IRGC men to at least call some sort of shots. The people that claim they're in charge right now clearly do not call all the shots. So unless we get rid of those guys, I'm not sure you can fully say that that's successful. Unless we fully secure the Strait of Hormuz as open for good, that must happen. And I guess we have to, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Iran really has no ability to project power anymore. So in that sense, it's a win. But we have to get them to capitulate, I guess. That's what it comes down to. He has to figure out a way to get them to capitulate, because the media is not going to let him have it unless they do. The thing is, under any other president, the media would be circle jerking right now about how great Obama's win in Iran was, because Iran has no ability to project power. And yeah, they're throwing, suicide speedboats out every now and then, but it's literally nothing. It literally means nothing. But they're not, because it's Trump. They're sitting here talking like Iran's still as strong as ever and has the ability to hold us off, when in reality, they can't stop us from doing anything, and we've seen that. They were the U.S. media, Reuters, AP, CNN, they were sharing Iranian propaganda again the other day, that Iran had struck boats in the Strait of Hormuz. It never happened. They have tried, and then they'll say, they've fired on boats. You know what they did? They fired bullets at the boats. You know what bullets do to a fucking ship? Nothing. Literally nothing. And they have managed to dig out some other suicide drone boats or whatever and send them towards some boats. But as far as I know, there have been no successful strikes. There's certainly been no ships that have been sunk or even reported people that died on them. But for whatever reason, and really it's just TDS, it's their hate of Trump. They refuse to, they're propagandizing Iran still. They've been doing it this whole time. We used to call that treason, but apparently we don't anymore. The fact is, I wish that Trump, Iran is clearly stalling because they know that Trump's under a lot of pressure right now from the American people, from the media, from Europe, to wrap this up quickly. And I don't understand why we have not gone back in and bombed the ever-living hell out of them for fucking around. They have nothing left to negotiate on, yet we're still letting them negotiate. There's nothing for them to negotiate. They're done. They have no ability to project power. There is nothing that they can do. So why are we negotiating with them at all? We give them a set of rules. If they don't agree to it, bomb the shit out of them. Give them another out. If they don't agree to it, bomb the shit out of them some more. That's kind of what I was counting on Trump here for, and it's not happening for some reason, and I don't know why.
Well, unfortunately, because of people like Nick Fuentes, we don't have a unified right in the midst of all the chaos and divisiveness that is, present in America right now. We can't even have a unified party because...
Good point.
And so I don't know. I feel like a lot more could be done, but I do think Trump is trying to tread a little carefully because he knows the midterms are coming. But if we can get through the midterms and actually get a Republican majority, a good majority, which seems to be happening with the new Supreme Court decision that's allowed the redistrictings to go through. I mean, places like Florida have gained, 8 or 9 seats that should be Republican, pretty much guaranteed. And Tennessee just got rid of their pretty much only Democrat seat with their new redistricting. And so if we can do that, I mean, a lot of stuff is going to happen after the midterms. But unfortunately, this happened before the midterms. But I will say, if we want to compare it to Trump versus how I think Kamala would have handled this, because someone was going to have to handle it. Whoever became president was going to have to handle this. I think we picked the best person to handle it. Am I going to say right now every decision that's been made was good or bad? I don't think so. But as of right now, it seems like, it's not going great, but we still have to give it time and see where it goes. And I'm glad that we have Trump leading it. So
I agree. And you're right, 100%. No matter how mad you are at Trump right now, as a Republican, as a conservative, as an independent, you have to let him have Congress. Because none of the good changes that he's made and none of the good changes that he's promised that he wants to make are possible unless he gets both houses. And you might say, he has both houses right now. We know that's not true. He does not have the majority to actually pass legislation. Yes, we have 50, I think it's 51 in the Senate, and whatever the slight majority is in the House. We can get stuff done in the House, but you have to have 60 in the Senate. Or at least, 58 or 7 or whatever it is. You cannot let off the gas right now, or all of this is for nothing, and we go right back to the middle of Biden, but worse. Just like that. You want to see Trump be absolutely nothing? Let the Democrats pick up seats in this midterm. And we're fucked. And they're going to do everything they can. Absolutely everything they can to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just need to put our trust, obviously, first in God, and then in that, God is leading Trump, because I feel like he has so far.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I certainly agree that we have to put our faith into it, and
Mhm.
we can certainly argue that Trump maybe hasn't listened every time God's tried to guide him, but I do
Mhm.
think that there's no question that somebody's looking out for him. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't take a bullet to the ear and not even get it not even touch your actual head without somebody watching out for you. It just
Mhm.
doesn't work that way. I just
Yeah, I
saw.
can't. I mean,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I just all the I just don't get it. It's like you voted for the guy, and you voted for him because of how crazy we've seen the left get, all the woke nonsense, and then you just go and fall for their lies. You're falling for the lies. The only reason why the media covers Trump 24/7 is so that they can brainwash you into they're trying to find anything he's doing wrong. Anything. And they've yet to get him for actually doing anything wrong. Now, I'm not saying the guy isn't going to make bad decisions. Maybe this Iran conflict or involvement, whatever we want to call it, turns out to be a bad idea. And that will be okay, because he still has another year and a half or 2.5 years before his term's over to, make some good changes. And I think he's done some pretty good stuff so far. I love what Hegseth is doing with the military. I love what Secretary Kennedy is doing with the health department. And I love a lot of these things that are happening. And we just want to focus in on this Iran thing that's happening right now. Gas prices are high, all these other things, but I still feel like I'm just going to, I have nothing else to do. What am I going to do? Sit here and complain and, oh my God, and just sit here on my fucking ass and do nothing?
Exactly. And we have to be able to look at the bigger picture. And that's something that Americans on all sides are terrible at. I understand gas prices are high right now. It's bullshit. It definitely, first of all, they shouldn't be nearly as high as they are. That's being driven by the media nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of why we need to be far more angry at them and calling them traitors, because that is exactly what they are doing by propagandizing Iran. But they are directly and tangibly or articulably I don't know if that's a word, whatever, harming American citizens. There's a clear path to show how their reporting is harming U.S. citizens by artificially increasing gas prices, artificially increasing fear and tensions, and harming the credibility of the president of the United States and all of these things. But despite all that, as high as gas prices are right now and as bullshit as it is, there is no question that Trump has already lowered the price of gas long term. There is no question that we are in a better position than we have been in since the end of World War II. Between Venezuela, Iran, what we've effectively done to China, what we've effectively done to Russia, the control that we are trying to maintain through the top of the globe, whatever that's called, the Northwest Passage. These changes will benefit us in the long run if we're able to maintain them and lock them in a way that Democrats can't just undo the moment they get back into office because you're pissy that your gas price is a little high right now. If we're able to do that, we are in an incredible position long term, and we have to recognize that, and we have to remember that, because it all goes away if we just choose to focus on right here, right now, and not the full picture. There's a reason nobody's talking about the genius that Donald Trump has actually pulled off in this last year or so. The reason is they hate him. But the fact is, this is something that analysts will look at and applaud for decades to come, as long as it stays permanent. And it's something that will benefit the American people for decades, if not centuries to come, as long as it stays permanent. We control the world's oil. We control the world's trade. We're controlling all the choke points now. We have taken all of we control the world's lithium. All of the influence and authority that China has been slowly spreading their tentacles into over the last 5 decades, Trump has wiped that out in a year. But if you want it to stay that way, you have to support him, even though we're in the thick of it and things aren't great right this moment. Anyway. Anything else you want to say on that?
Just give it time and trust the process. And I'm pretty much going to stick to what I've been saying. For the most part, we'll sit here and talk about things that are going on, and we may be able to say good or bad. But at the end of the day, I'm pretty much waiting until the next guy gets sworn into office to really start talking about what Trump did. And even then, you know, it could be 8 years down the road when we see some benefit from things that he's done today, you know. And that's just the difference between Republican and Democrat policies to me. Is Democrat policies seem to give you a bunch of gain early on. You get all these free benefits. You get free healthcare, free food, free housing. But then later down the road, a couple of years, maybe more,
9% inflation.
you end up getting fucked in the ass. Whereas with Republican policies, sometimes we get fucked in the ass immediately, but then later on it's a little easier.
Absolutely.
Things get better.
Well, and ask yourself...
Short-term pain for long-term gain.
And ask yourself this. What has Trump done that fucks American citizens long-term? I can't think of anything. What did Biden not do to fuck us long-term? Everything that man did fucked us long-term. Everything that the Democrats do every time they are in office fucks us long-term. It takes away our freedoms. It increases the size and the authority of government. It increases our debt, our spending. And yes, Trump spends way too much of the fucking debt too. I get it. However, he could have been wiping out significant portions of the debt by now had he been allowed to keep his tariffs, which every other president... So I looked this up. I got into an argument with the leftists, just really briefly, about the tariffs, and them telling me, you know, how fucking that's Congress's deal and all this. And I asked him, like, do you know how many presidents have directly issued tariffs? Do you know, by chance?
No, I don't.
Every single one, back to George Washington, has directly implemented tariffs. Obviously to varying degrees, but every single one has directly issued tariffs. Trump is the first one to ever be challenged in court on it, at least in modern times. I don't know if, maybe a long time ago, but...
Maybe just stop and ask yourself for a second, why would they be fighting him so hard if they weren't so scared of him? They fight him on every single thing. There's not a single thing. You go into the streets and you actually go to a Democrat protest, you start asking them, can you say one thing that Trump has done that you're even okay with, saying like, you're indifferent to? They can't. Everything he does is the most awful thing ever, even though other presidents have done it, even though maybe he's kind of continuing on something Biden did or Obama did. And everything is terrible. Why would that be? If he's a part of the same deep state network that supposedly everyone has been a part of, and he's in the Epstein files, and he was on the island, and he was having sex with all these kids, why would they fight him? Why would they not be fully behind him, saying that everything he's doing is good? Why would they? I don't understand.
Well, you do understand. I mean, you hit it dead on. It's because he threatens to undermine and has undermined everything that they have been trying to do to undermine this nation for 100 years. And you actually have segued perfectly into one of the general topics I wanted to discuss, which is we need to really be considering and paying attention to the fact that Donald Trump is such a threat to the progressive agenda, because history tells us Democrats, if they lose this next election, especially, if they lose this midterm, especially, they are, but even at the moment, you know, they are unraveling. They were not expecting to lose to Trump in 2016, but they figured it was a fluke. They weren't and you know, they were going to fix it in 2020, and they did, but they weren't expecting it to be so close. And they never expected him to win again in 2024. And since then, they have just unraveled. Their support is lower than ever. Their party is splitting into two between the radicals and the moderates. And as bad off as the Republicans are, the Democrats are worse. And here's the thing. This old guard, we've been talking for a long time about how the old guard of progressives that are every bit as radical as the younger, newer progressives, they're just more patient and they're just smarter about it. They're willing to see these things implemented. You know, they're willing to carry the torch farther rather than force what they want right now. Whereas these new younger ones just want to force it through, no matter if it works or not, basically. They're just going to tear it all down if they have to. And that's why the old guard hasn't wanted to hand things off to these new younger AOCs and the like. Even Bernie, even though Bernie is part of the old guard technically, he's kind of the forebearer of this new generation because he's much more radical than everyone else was of his generation. And so what they've done, because they didn't want to hand the power off because they knew this young generation was going to fuck everything because they couldn't keep it in their pants. Well, they got to the point, obviously, where the radicals got too powerful, and so they had no choice. And so they basically just been trying to get theirs before they die in office and leave. And they are facing now the potential of the end of 100 years of progressive dismantling of the United States. They have spent 100 years progressing to this point. They're in a long line of individuals pushing the progressive cause in transforming the United States into this, progressive one world utopian nation. And they are literally staring down the barrel of it unraveling entirely, Trump or no Trump. Historically speaking, that's incredibly dangerous, and it means that most likely, allegedly, we could see them get very violent. We could see them do some very evil things to try and prevent it from unraveling. Because what do they have to lose? Most of them are going to die soon just from old age. That's not in any way some sort of threat. I'm just saying they're old as fuck. So what do they have to lose? They can't go to jail. You're not going to put 98-year-old Nancy Pelosi, who doesn't even know what day of the fucking week it is, in jail. Anthony Fauci's about to get off scot-free. He's got like 6 more days, I think, until his statute of limitations is up. Even though that man, I believe that man murdered many people. He certainly experimented on, in a very Nazi Mengele way, many people. Under the flag of the United States, by the way. Now, I think he was lying to the government to get away with it, but regardless, that's a whole nother conversation. They don't care. And assassination attempts on President Trump, I think, is only the tip of the iceberg. It's only the thing that we see right now. What are they doing behind the scenes to try and prevent their literal life's effort from being unraveled?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think I'm being too hyperbolic? Do you think I'm taking it too far, or?
I think you're hitting the nail on the head.
I'm not a big...
There's deep-rooted corruption in our system. And Trump is the first person from outside of it since probably Reagan. But I think he's the first president since Coolidge that's actually getting work done, you know.
Agreed.
Reagan did a pretty good job, but I still don't think that he was on the level that Trump is, in my opinion, or is going to be.
No, I agree 100%. Assuming we are able to maintain him the House and the Senate.
Mm-hmm. And maintain him. If he's
that too.
If his violence keeps going up, we may, I don't know.
And
we could lose some key players, if not Trump himself, man.
And if the Secret Service doesn't get their shit together. I'm not a big doomsday sayer. I tend to believe that things will continue on no matter how bleak or existential they might look at a particular moment. I don't believe in, doomsday predictions. And this isn't a doomsday prediction. I do think we will survive whatever it is that they may attempt to do. But that doesn't mean that we want to live through whatever it is they may attempt to do. Because, like I said, history tells us that these Marxist, communist, progressive leftists, they get extremely violent when things aren't going their way and when things start to unravel. I'd be curious to look. I've never really looked up how many people were killed at the end of the USSR, but I bet it was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone's got dirt on everyone else. The truth's starting to come out, and there's also no authority to stop you, And that's... Would you let your life's work be unraveled? Not only your life's work, but generations of life's work. We read some of the communist, whatever it was, the list of communist goals for the United States that the progressives picked up on. Again, we read them again. One of the last episodes we did before I took a break. And we'll read them again someday. Every single one the progressives have been doing this entire time, and provably so. You can call that a coincidence all you want. You don't have, whatever it is, 65 or 85 coincidences. Doesn't work that way. They have been working very hard to undermine everything that this nation has ever stood for a long time. And the closer that is to unraveling, the worse it's going to get. Or the worse they're going to get. The more dangerous, the more violent, the more willing to commit evil acts, even just as revenge. Not even because it'll save what they're doing, just out of, the burn it all down mentality. That is a leftist mentality.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to burn anything down. I want to build. That's part of what makes me a conservative. Anyway, I had this up for a second and then we kind of transitioned into that. But apparently, the Iranians are dumping oil on Crag Island. So over the last
Crag Island.
Over the last couple weeks, thanks to the blockade, they have run out of oil storage, and you can't just stop pumping oil. When you are pumping oil, if you turn the pumps off, you essentially lose you lose like 50% of the oil that's still on the ground, or more. Could be up to 80% of the oil that's still on the ground, because it will collapse essentially. And you might be able to get back some of it, but at an extremely high cost. And so it seems that they are just dumping it into the ocean to prevent that from happening. These are some satellite images from Crag Island, which is where they are pumping the vast majority of their oil and where they ship it out of. So those are ships. I'm not sure why we're highlighting them. I guess just to show the scale, baby. Yeah, anyway. That's apparently them dumping oil. Take that for what it's worth, but thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Oh god. I wish celebrities would just shut up. By the way, so I started listening to Ed Helms' podcast. You know who Ed Helms is? So he's the guy from The Office. He's Andy on The Office. He's done what? Hangover is probably the biggest movie he was in, and the one that loses his tooth.
Yeah.
Funny guy, hilarious guy. But like all actors, a fucking rabid leftist because he lives in Hollywood and is just ignorant as shit to what's going on in the real world. And so the podcast, it's called Snafu. Shit's normal, all fucked up is what that stands for. It's an old saying that goes way back. But anyway, it started off, the first couple seasons were about, you know, these big mistakes by the government, essentially. You had the one with the FBI being brought down in the 70s for spying on American citizens. You had one about a nuclear bomb that was stolen. One about nuclear war. Anyway, it was historical and it was interesting and it's well produced, right? A lot of money was put into it, so it's fun to listen to. But as the stories have run short, or just because he felt like it, whatever it is, he's moved into now interviewing friends of his, other celebrities. He interviewed a couple of the people from The Office, and you know, just random celebrities that he's friends with. Chelsea Handler was one of them. Some of the worst leftists too, and things have gotten, you know, markedly more political since then. And it made me realize, like, you know, everybody and their mom has a podcast these days. Hollywood, if you are in Hollywood, if you are an actor or a producer or somebody that is in that deep Hollywood circle, heed this warning. This is not opinion. This is fact. Don't start a fucking podcast, because the moment we hear you guys open your fucking mouth and see how stupid you are, we can't watch your shit anymore. I can't stand watching certain actors anymore. Like, Billie Eilish is a good example, only because it's recent. Now, obviously, I was never some big Billie Eilish fan, but I can't even stand hearing her after knowing how stupid she is. Like, I just don't want to give my time, attention, or money to somebody so fucking stupid, no matter how good they are at writing music or at acting or whatever it is. And every time an actor opens their mouth and reveals how moronically dumb and disconnected from reality they are, and the fact is, in podcast format, you can't hide that stuff. We sit here and we talk too long to hide. If we were absolute morons, you would know it in an instant.
Yeah, guys, you would know it already. So,
well, and you do know it because we are, but but
Speak
you
for
know
yourself.
it because we do a podcast, damn it. Oh no, I'm speaking for both of us. Fuck you. You're on this ride. You saw the ride, you bought the fucking ticket, bud. Shout out to Mila for sharing the show. We appreciate that.
yeah, thanks, Mila.
And if I pronounced your name wrong, I'm sorry. That's like the thing I'm worst at. What the fuck is wrong with that snake?
And now we move on to the segment, what is wrong with that snake?
I wasn't even trying to, but it just popped up, and I'm like, wait a minute. It's one of those videos that got me, because...
Now this might be the most ticks.
Are those ticks?
So you just said.
Shut the fuck. I know that's what he said. I've never seen a tick look like that. That's not what they look like on human skin, at least.
I've ever seen on any
Is that like a tick egg? Or is it the
I don't
snake
know.
skin?
Maybe we should watch the video
animal
and
ever.
see.
That is insane. And look at the size of them. They're enormous. Huge ticks on this girl. But we just got this python out of the Everglades, and she was sitting on a clutch of eggs. We got them too, and you can see she popped this egg right away. You can see the embryo in there starting to look like a snake. It's got scales developed, so these weren't too far off from hatching. So we got her out just in the nick of time.
Huh.
Very cool.
And so that has been our segment. What is wrong with that snake?
Correct. Do you believe in this whole tick thing? That ticks are the new COVID?
No.
You don't think they're genetically modifying ticks like they genetically
No,
modified
I mean,
mosquitoes?
I believe they have before, but I don't think it's new.
But I mean, do you believe that they're intentionally releasing genetically modified ticks to infect us all with Lyme disease or whatever else?
I mean, they did at one point. I don't think they currently are right now.
So it's funny because at the time this tick thing is happening, now the last couple days, the big thing has been the hantavirus. Hantavirus is the new COVID, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all going to die from the hantavirus. Now, the hantavirus is a legitimate, scary disease. In America, in the United States, the place that usually has the lowest rate of death from any disease, the death rate is 40%. I think it's like 38 for the hantavirus. That's insane. Good news is it's one of those things that affects like one person a year, maybe 5 people a year. You know, it's extremely rare. And that's because it isn't typically human to human transmitted, and it comes directly from rodent feces, which of course rodents not a big problem in the United States. You have to either inhale it or put it in your mouth somehow.
Mm-hmm. That's the way I like it.
But supposedly there is this one place in Argentina where there is a hantavirus strain that is human to human transmissible. Okay? And allegedly, what the news is, and we're going to read a story from the BBC here, is that 3 people with this human-to-human transmissible version of the hantavirus, which of course takes 8 weeks to develop, which gives them plenty of time to, mingle amongst the public, allegedly. They have landed in Tampa, I think it was, and have been confirmed to have this human-to-human transmissible variant of the hantavirus. And so, of course, people are running crazy, claiming that, this is going to be the next pandemic. The news is going insane, with the fear-mongering on it already. We have some, sorry, we'll get to that in a second. I just saw some interesting news, but we'll get to that in a second. I find it awful convenient that there's one place in one tiny little area of the world where there's a human-to-human transmissible variant, and allegedly it is now in the United States and could be spreading like wildfire. What do you think about all this?
I mean, I really don't know. It's the first time I've heard about it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck, it's all I've heard the last couple days.
Yeah, I've been on and off X, so.
Well, in that case, let's go to the BBC story real quick. Just to get to this brief headline that I just saw that caught my attention. Apparently, Kyle Rittenhouse has been hospitalized after a brown recluse spider bite. Well, I fucking didn't, all right, bud? God.
Dare you.
That's all I have on that. But
Mhm.
All right. There's a video here.
Yeah, the media took their chance to take another lap on him because of it.
Of course they did.
Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam.
Thank you. This is the moment hantavirus evacuees land in Amsterdam and are escorted to the hospital. I mean, he's up and walking, so that's good. Oh, good news too is allegedly Pfizer already working on an mRNA vaccine that will be ready by next year.
I'm so glad they're all right on top of it.
Yes, apparently they are directly on top of it. Almost, you could say they are fucking the hantavirus right now, or the rest of us, one of the two. The outbreak of the hantavirus on a cruise ship carrying passengers from across the world is a situation that authorities say they are taking incredibly seriously. This is the first time I've heard it was a cruise ship. I thought it was a cargo ship. 3 passengers have died either on board or after traveling on the ship, which set sail from Argentina a month ago. 4 others have been medically evacuated from the ship for treatment. Why? Wouldn't we quarantine the ship? Treat them on the fucking ship.
Should just send the ship off into the middle of the Pacific.
Yeah, just tell Trump there's drugs on it. Didn't say that. I'm kidding. It's a joke. News and analysis. Anyway, or opinion and analysis. Anyway, 4 others have been medically evacuated from the ship for treatment. Huge operation is in place to trace people potentially exposed to the virus who have already taken flights home to numerous countries, including the UK, South Africa, the Netherlands, the US, and Switzerland. Health experts stress the risk to the general public is low. So how worried should we be? This is
Sounds like not worried. You said it was low. So
this is not COVID. Well, it sounds like they might be walking back their original reporting a little bit. In an update on Thursday, Dr. Maria Van Kerkhoff from the World Health Organization, oh good, because they've never lied to us before,
nope,
stressed it was not the start of a pandemic, saying this is not COVID, it's not influenza, it spreads very, very differently. Unlike diseases such as measles, which are highly contagious and spread easily, the Andes strain of the hantavirus behind the outbreak is not that infectious. Human-to-human spread is possible, but the risk of infections globally remains low. In the latest update, it says 8 cases, 3 confirmed and 5 suspected, have been identified in people who were on the ship. It is still not clear how the outbreak started. Hantavirus typically spreads from rodents, with people infected by breathing in air contaminated with virus particles from rodent urine, droppings, or saliva. The crews had been visiting remote wildlife areas, so a passenger could have come in contact with the virus then or before boarding the ship. Experts have observed the Andes strain spreading between human patients in previous outbreaks, though very close contact and health experts believe that some of the infections on board MV Hondius may have been passed between people, through very close contact, I mean. Even luxury cruise ships have relatively cramped or restricted living conditions, with people sharing cabins and dining areas, places where infections would spread. People can catch it from proximity from someone that they spend prolonged time with in close physical proximity. The 3 deaths include a Dutch woman who left the ship when it stopped at an island in St. Helena on the 24th of April. She had been sharing a cabin with her husband, who previously died on board on April 11th, although it is not currently known if one of the confirmed cases of hantavirus. Oh, okay. Hantavirus is not spread in the outside world through everyday social contact like walking in public spaces, shops, workplaces, or schools, the UKHSA says. How hantavirus can spread to humans. 1, virus is often carried by rodents. 2, particles from infected droppings can become airborne. 3, infection occurs when those particles are inhaled. 4, it causes 2 severe illnesses that can lead to death, respiratory issues and lung damage, and internal bleeding and kidney failure. It can also be transmitted through cuts, the eyes, or from a bite by a rodent. Symptoms usually appear, well, they said human-to-human transmission, so how does that work? Does it have to be from saliva or something, maybe?
Maybe.
Symptoms usually appear between 2 to 4 weeks after being exposed to the virus, but can occur more than a month later. People or contacts who may have been exposed to the infection, including on the boat, in the hospital, or on any flights, will be monitored. Contact tracing work that is underway has been quite a mammoth effort. Professor Robin May, Chief Scientific Officer, UK Health Safety, said, "We will continue to do for some time. Any British passengers returning from the cruise ship will be asked to self-isolate in the UK for 45 days as a precaution. For broader public not directly involved in this cruise ship, the risk here is really negligible. People ill with the Andes strain can have symptoms similar to the flu of fever, fatigue, muscle aches. They may also get shortness of breath, stomach pain, nausea, and vomiting or diarrhea. Tests exist to diagnose the infection, but there is no specific treatment. Although early medical support in hospital can improve survival, treatment for the symptoms is displayed."
But who has said that
for this
there is
symptoms.
little to no difference between the hantavirus and having Taco Bell for dinner? So be careful, guys.
That is a interesting fact to note. In fact, I believe the hantavirus allegedly, and this is alleged conspiracy theory, started in a Taco Bell.
Oh.
Dun dun.
Liv Moss.
Didn't they say it was a UK cruise ship? If it's a UK
Yeah, I
cruise
think
ship,
so.
why are 38 of the crew Philippian? You have 14 from Spain, 15 from the
Philippinian.
Netherlands, 5 from Ukraine, 2 from India, 1 from Poland, Russia, Portugal, Montenegro, Guatemala, and 38 from the Philippines. Oh, 31 from the UK.
The crew, huh?
Anyway, officials were working to coordinate the arrival of the British nationals, yada yada, yada yada. It says 30 passengers, including 7 Britons, disembarked when the ship docked at St. Helena on 24th and have all since been contacted. They said 2 Britons who had left the ship at St. Helena had contacted health officials when they heard about the cases after flying home from Johannesburg and are now voluntarily self-isolating in the UK. They have no symptoms. The health organization later said that the other 5 Britons who disembarked at St. Helena had not yet returned to the UK, and in the US, officials in Georgia and Arizona have confirmed to the BBC that they are monitoring 3 passengers who had returned to the US after disembarking. So apparently I had a few of the facts wrong, and it also seems that they're backtracking on the freak out just a little bit, so that's good news. The fact is, we're going to have an outbreak of a serious disease at some point in the future. Hopefully not for a long time.
Because that happens.
But yeah, I mean, it happens. And although we'll hold on, I'll double back to that. Most likely we will have some sort of outbreak in the future regarding a disease. People aren't going to buy it this time, though. They're just not. Unless it's 100 years from now, they fucked themselves. They fucked everybody the way they handled COVID. Nobody's going to believe it. Even the leftists that still pretend to this day that they believe COVID was what they claimed it was. Nobody, just to be clear, I'm not arguing COVID didn't exist. Of course COVID existed. Of course it was very dangerous to people with a lot of comorbidities and the elderly. The rest of us were virtually fine, though, and as long as we washed our hands and maintained 6 feet of distance, that pretty much took care of it, just like the flu. There was no reason to vaccinate the entire world. There was no reason for us all to stay home for anything more than the original 2 weeks, at least. And because they did all that, it's probably going to harm a lot of people because they fucked us.
They screwed us.
Yeah.
They shit the bed.
Hardcore. The good news is, though, the TikTok nurses are already working on their new dance moves for the hantavirus TikTok nurse videos.
Yeah, they have to be. Gotta be prepared for that.
music over this almost makes this look like it's in place. Kids today will think this is AI generated, but I promise you, this chick is real. And this happened for real.
Yep.
At the Olympics. Hold on. I gotta see I gotta say though, there it is. I gotta say though, I think that the COVID TikTok nurses have a leg up on the hantavirus TikTok nurses. I think that they need to work on this routine a little bit and come back when they've managed to disgrace an entire generation of individuals more than they already have.
You can't hate on a work in progress, man. At least give them some time, practice, and
That's fair. We haven't even officially entered the hantavirus epidemic, so I'll give them some time. But from what we're seeing in the preliminaries here, it's not looking good. What's funny is that music overlay that really, like, it makes it seem like it's in place more so than it was with the original music over it. It's like impossible to describe just how ludicrous and goofy that shit was. And the fact she had people defending her. Come on, guys, she did her best. Well, her best fucking sucked, all right? In fact, it was pretty embarrassing to all of us with a conscience. All right. You got any more stories?
I don't believe so.
Wow. Let me see what I got here. I got a few more. Yeah, that's not really interesting enough. That's not really interesting enough. We have some drones crash in NATO territory. France is trying to summon Elon Musk to face criminal charges. Good luck with that. Matter of fact, let me go see if he's responded to that yet, because I hope that he's told him to fuck off, as he properly should. To which they've probably already waved the white flag. Oh, you want to tell us about Krasenstein?
I'm not sure
Can you pull that
if
up?
that's true, but I can kind of look
No,
into
it is. It is. Musk posted about it. That's what made me think of it.
Because now he's saying that this is posted from his account.
He probably returned it.
Yeah, it says he returned it and he bought this. This is the last thing I saw.
No, that's AI generated over the...
Yeah, but it came from him.
Because that's an older
I'm
one.
like... Because obviously he's not just going to be rolling coal in his garage.
What is the... Well, give us the breaking news first, and then tell me
Brian
what that says.
Krasenstein has bought a Cybertruck and supported Elon Musk, the Nazi.
Wow. What a fucking hypocrite. I cannot believe that he would support the Nazi.
At 8:01 p.m. on May 5th, he posted, "I might get hate for this too, but I bought a Cybertruck. With a young family, safety was important, and so is not polluting the atmosphere with $5 a gallon gasoline."
No, just pollute it with coal. Do we know where he lives? Like what state?
No, I don't.
Okay, what did he say about the Ford?
He said, I've listened, I've reflected, I've grown. After losing 6,000 followers for buying a Cybertruck, I realized I needed a vehicle that better aligns with my followers' environmental expectations and moral values. So I traded it in for a beauty that gets 7 miles per gallon and personally accelerates glacier melt every time I tap the gas pedal. The good news is it has absolutely no connection to Elon Musk. Looking forward to earning back your trust and hopefully those 6,000 refollows.
No, he's just being a sarcastic dick because
I mean, if this
he's
is all
mad
true, it's kind of
that his followers are behaving the same way he does. No, that's... If you look at the photos, it's clearly the exact same photo of the Tesla truck, just, you know, AI overlaid with a different truck.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he's just being a dick to... Because he's mad that his followers are doing to him exactly what he would do to them.
Yeah, he said, FYI, if you're on X attacking me, this is his response to after posting it. If you're on X attacking me for buying a vehicle I like because it benefits Elon Musk, you may want to think that one through. Every time you post here to criticize me, you're helping Elon's other company and likely training or feeding the ecosystem around XAI in the process. That's the problem with purity tests. Almost nobody passes them. If you want to trace the political contradictions behind nearly every product, platform, app, service, bank, car, phone, grocery store, streaming service, or AI tool you use, go ahead and ask Grok, or ChatGPT, or Claude. The truth is, modern life is full of compromises. I bought a vehicle I like. You're posting on Elon's platform to yell at me about it. Maybe we can all climb down from the hypocrisy Olympics for a minute.
Hypocrisy?
Hypocrisy Olympics. Hypocrisy. Hypocrisy. Okay.
Hypocrisy? Fuck's sake.
You don't pay me to read words.
That's true, I don't, so. My bad.
So this is kind of hilarious. Oh, he has another reply. And this is the point I'm trying to make here, I think. If buying a Tesla makes someone morally complicit in Elon's politics, then buying a Ford apparently means supporting a company that caved to anti-DEI pressure and walked away from a major LGBTQ plus workplace equality index. And buying a GM apparently means supporting a company that quietly scrubbed DEI language from its annual report as a corporate America ran for cover for the anti-DEI backlash. That's the problem with purity tests. They don't end with Tesla, they end with almost every company in America. At some point, people have to admit modern life is full of compromised choices, including posting on Elon's platform to yell at someone for buying Elon's truck. Yeah, life's just full of compromises, like voting for the correct candidate.
Yes, it is. By the way, shout out to @art_by_kick. Art by Kick for liking and sharing the show as well. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Check them out on X and see what they offer. Which, by the way, this person messaged me, and I just want to let you know, I didn't forget about you. I will respond to you. But I took a break from the show, and that meant taking a break from X too. So, anyway. Not as much of a break as I should have. I still occasionally got on and posted things, but anyway, anything having to do with the show, I took away from, so I'm not ignoring you. Nonetheless, thank you for the support. We appreciate you watching. Next up, let's talk about... Let me see if I had anything else under the stories. If not, we'll just get into...
Oh, there was the lady in... wherever that was that hung herself upside down naked from the bell and was banging around. You have that video?
I saw some photos, but no, I don't.
Because that's just hilarious. I think of all the leftist protests that are happening, this is probably the best one. If they were all like this, it would probably be fine.
Do we know what she was protesting?
Didn't burn a building down, didn't shoot someone, just got naked and hang upside down from a bell. And I mean, probably only hurt herself at the end of the day. So
there we go. I got it. I can't find a censored one, so if you're offended by tits, then don't watch this.
I just didn't want you to get another strike on YouTube.
Well, that's what I'm trying to think. Is there anything?
So
Can you? Yeah, no, you can't. Can you? Okay. Hold on. Let me scroll till I find it. There's got to be an edited one.
yeah, I've
here
seen
somewhere.
a couple of them censored, maybe from like leading
There we go.
report.
I got one. So what is this about? Like, what is she?
I don't even know. I just remembered it, so I thought we'd bring it up because it's just hilarious. I don't remember what she was protesting.
I mean,
but
do we? I don't know that we care what she's protesting, but
no, I didn't care while I was watching it.
I gotta be honest. Like,
And she's just living her best life. Completely
it's
fine
pretty
with this
impressive
whole-
that she's hanging by her feet and doing that.
I mean, she climbed all the way up there with just her body strength alone, you know?
Yeah, I was trying to show the full video, but I couldn't find an edited one that was full.
Yeah.
Let me see real quick here. Because far away, you can't really see anything inappropriate, so maybe. All right, let me view this one off screen real fast and make sure you can't see anything. I mean, you can tell she's naked, but you can't actually see the tits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I won't risk it. If you want to see it, go to X and just search Lady Bell in the search and you'll find it. That's all I searched and it came up. I want to know how she's making the noise. Someone's got to be ringing the thing behind her.
I don't know. I think that's just what it sounds like when a human body bounces off the inside of a bell. She's hitting it pretty hard.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It does look like she's hitting it pretty fucking hard. Anyway. Let's see. Thank you for bringing that up, Austin. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. She's an Austrian artist named Florentia Holzinger.
What? She's an artist? I don't believe you. Artist.
It seems like she was protesting climate change, rising sea levels, the climate apocalypse, human vulnerability, and globalization through provocative, acrobatic, and immersive performance. So she was protesting these things through provocative, acrobatic, and immersive performance.
I see.
She was doing it because it symbolizes the climate alarm by ringing the bell. She's trying to call attention to environmental dangers.
Okay. You know what? I have not given one shit about climate change until this very moment, and suddenly, I still don't care.
Mm-hmm.
So, the leftists, of course, are going crazy with this whole hantavirus thing. I'll put the tweet up on screen for those watching, but I'm not going to read it out loud. But they're threatening to, murder conservatives again, basically. Because they do that literally no matter what's going on in the news cycle.
Yep, so it's about time to buy a gun, guys.
Yeah. Yes, you should have the ultimate form of self-defense. Always. Always. Not some ways. Always. Let's see. I'm looking for the next video here. Did you donate to the trans Kansans
No.
who are trying to desperately flee the state of Kansas because they are now in fear for their lives?
Oh.
There are 44 trans individuals, according to this post. 55, sorry. There are 55 trans individuals in Kansas attempting to get to safety because they fear for their lives. Do you know why?
No, I don't.
Because Kansas passed SB 244 and voided driver's licenses and birth certificates that don't have the correct assigned gender. In other words, Kansas murdered them by changing a letter on their driver's license and birth certificates. Yeah. And if you think I'm joking, no, that's actually what they posted, and they want you to donate to Act Blue, which will give precisely 0 of the money to trannies, in order to fix it. All right, we'll go with this. We'll go with this crazy leftist, I guess, and then we'll get into our final topic for the day. Or one of the two. If I think I have 2, but whatever.
There's a certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, right? You can't earn $1 billion.
That is one of my favorite AOC quotes. You can't earn $1 billion. Okay.
That's right.
You just can't.
That's right. That's right.
Can't earn that.
That's exactly correct.
You can get market power, you can break rules, you can do all sorts of things. You can abuse labor laws, you can pay people less than what they're worth, but you can't earn that, right?
That's right.
And so you have to create a myth that since you didn't earn that, you have to create a myth of earning it. There's a certain level of wealth and accumulation that is unearned, right? You can't earn $1 billion.
That's right.
You just can't earn.
You just can't.
Why is this woman still in our news feed? Why is she still in fucking Congress?
Got boobs.
There's certain levels of crazy, though, that are just unmatched, and this is by far one of it. First of all, you can earn $1 billion, obviously. Second of all, even if you believe that someone unscrupulously earned $1 billion, that does not give you the justification to use government to then unscrupulously steal that $1 billion.
Yeah. Robin Hood was not a story of a man going and stealing from the rich. It was a story of a man going and stealing money back from the tax collectors that stole their money in the first place.
I'm sorry, what?
Robin Hood was not a story of a man that just went and stole money from the rich. It was the story of a man that went and stole the money from the tax collectors that originally stole it from the poor people.
Correct.
They're rich because they stole everyone's money.
Yes.
Not because they earned it successfully and correctly.
Yep. I apologize. This is why I have a light on in my studio that says on air. Because it's supposed to prevent people from interrupting me and stealing my attention away from your genius insight about Robin Hood. But unfortunately, it apparently doesn't work. Anyway, let's address what she said next here.
Earn that.
That's exactly correct.
You can get market power. You can
get market power. What does that mean? That would have been the first thing I asked her. What is getting market power? What does that mean? Means you're good at making sales? Next.
Break rules. You can do all sorts.
What rules? What rules? And if they're breaking rules, why aren't you going after them, Congresswoman? If they are breaking the rules that are on the books, we have a system of laws to go after them. But they're not breaking the laws on the books, are they? They're doing it legally.
Sorts of things.
They're breaking your made-up rules that you wish you could enforce because you don't actually have the support of the American people to pass those laws.
You can abuse labor laws.
What labor laws? What labor laws have been abused? And look, I'm not a fan of corporations. I hate fucking being in the position to defend corporations, to defend CEOs, because I'm not a big fan of most of them. I do think that they have been too exploitative and too immoral, for lack of a better way to put it right now, in this country for too long. But I certainly don't believe that the absolutely corrupt and immoral, fraudulent government, and by fraudulent government, I mean government that is full of people that commit fraud on a regular basis. I don't mean that the current government is fraudulent. But they're certainly not the ones to fix it.
Yep.
You can pay people less than what they're worth.
Yep.
But you can't.
If you paid people less than what they're worth, then why would they work for you? If somebody wants to work for you for less than what they're, quote, worth, which I would love to know how she determines that. Of course, the only answer she'd have is living wage, whatever that means. Here's the thing. Because it goes back to the living wage argument. And here's the thing about the living wage argument. I agree. There are many jobs that exist today that don't pay a quote-unquote living wage. They do not pay a wage that you can live on if you work 40 hours a week if you are an adult. Now, the only reason, though, that those jobs even exist in the first place is because there are people that are willing to work them. Usually, people that don't need a living wage. People that just want to make some extra money via working part-time or because they're underage or because they're actually going to school or whatever and they need something that's flexible. That's one option. The other option is because they're fucking lazy and are 40 years old and have never bothered once to obtain a skill other than pushing the cheeseburger on the cash register. Plain and simple. And they've chosen to work for that shit wage. If they just chose not to, then that company would either be forced out of business or forced to pay more to their employees in order to get people to work for them. You can't just blame it all on the company. They are paying what somebody is willing to work for. We're not slaves in this country. They can't force people to work for them. Now, we do have a serious problem with our government letting in a bunch of illegals and things like that that are willing to work for lower wages. Yes, that is a problem. That is a problem that's also being dealt with right now. There are some other problems that compound this that are on the outside of just worker and corporation. But at the end of the day, you could just not work for them. It's that simple. And if there are people that are willing to work for them for less than a quote-unquote livable wage, who are you to stop them? And the thing is, a lot of it is because we have created a demand for certain products at a low price that are unnecessary. And they don't actually support a operable business unless that business is shady as shit. But every time you buy something from that business, you're supporting that shady ass company. So maybe you should put some blame on yourself too for not paying a little bit more from the not so shady company that pays a decent wage to their employees. Anyway. Moving on. Unless you, I'm sorry, if you had something to say on that, go ahead.
Moving on.
I wish I had a cutscene for this, but I don't. Let's talk about men.
Oh.
In a very platonic, heterosexual, straight way.
Okay. All right. No homo.
I need to make a flashing no homo sign. Have it flash on the screen a few times. Anyway, so I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about rites of passage, and I want to talk about, I guess, etiquette. That's not really the word I'm looking for, but that's kind of the direction. So let's start with rites of passage, because I got thinking the other day. So every culture, pretty much in the world, has some sort of rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't now, they historically have and have kind of grown out of it. We don't. We have some, you know, you get your license at 16, which generally also means freedom. You move out at 18. But this is also a lot older than typical rites of passage for men outside of that. Can you do me a favor real quick? Can you pull up on Grok like 10 of the most notorious, you know, rites of passage in the world, and share those with us real quick before I get into my point on this?
Oops, I gave it the wrong prompt. For men. There we go. With Grok 4.20 is pretty nice, though, I gotta say.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had a chance to use it yet. Not.
Yeah, it's my first time doing it on the computer. It seems smoother. All right. Starts off with bullet ant gloves from the Satire Mawe Brazilian Amazon. Boys around 13 years old wear gloves woven with live bullet ants, the world's most painful sting, for about 10 minutes. Land diving nag hole, Vanuatu Pentecost Island. Boys as young as 5 to 15 dive headfirst from 20 to 100-foot vine towers with ankle vines, aiming to brush the ground with their shoulders. It's a harvest ritual and manhood test.
Yikes.
Cow/bull jumping, the Hamar tribe from Ethiopia. To prove readiness for marriage, a boy, often naked after relatives are whipped, runs across the backs of 4+ castrated bulls. Well, if they're castrated, they're not bulls. Anyways, lined up multiple times without falling. Crocodile scarring, skin cutting from the Septic River tribes, Papua New Guinea. Boys are isolated in a spirit house, then cut hundreds of times with razors to create crocodile-like scars on their bodies. Ooh.
Wow.
Maasai lion hunt / circumcision in warrior training. Maasai, Kenya. Boys ages 10 to 20 hunt lions historically and undergo group circumcision. Group circumcision? Oh, man. Would you imagine if you got circumcised in a group? But they have to do without flinching.
Okay.
They then live as warriors for years, learning combat and herding.
Herding or hurting?
Herding.
Okay.
Herding.
Got you. They become sheepdogs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Fulani whipping matches from Fulani, West Africa. Boys around 12 to 13 duel with sharpened sticks, whips, striking each other. Often 3 blows to draw blood while showing no pain.
Interesting.
Then
Okay,
the crowd gets to decide the winner.
can you have him narrow the focus to the 21st century and fucking first world countries? I think we've got an idea of how the third world does it. I'll mention while he's looking that up that Native American tribes here in the Pacific Northwest used to do, and I believe there was also like what was called a vision quest in more of the southwestern tribes. I might be a little incorrect on exactly where, but here in the Northwest, you would go on it's been called a spirit quest or various other things where they, as, 12, 13-year-old boy somewhere in there, you're sent out into the woods by yourself, and you have to fend for yourself, feed yourself, take care of yourself until you have a vision from the spirits and, reach enlightenment, essentially, and then you can come back to the tribe, but you're going to have to come back and convince the elders that you actually had one. You can't bullshit it. What do you got for...
It says the first one is fraternity gauntlet or extreme drinking and hazing in U.S. colleges. Military boot camp / basic training in the U.S., UK, and Australia.
Yeah.
Fraternity physical endurance / beating rituals in U.S. Greek life.
Okay.
Shellback line crossing ceremony in the U.S. Navy and other navies.
Yeah.
Blood pinning / blood wings military aviation units. Australian Defence Force bastardization. College sports team hazing in U.S. high school and college. Rumspringa, Amish communities.
Yeah, okay.
Elite boarding school or university fagging in the UK. They have fagging. No wonder they're all so fucking gay. They literally go through fagging. Modern men's rites of passage retreats, wilderness quests. That's what Grok has said. And then at the end it says driver's license, bar mitzvah, Shinohai in Japan. I don't know.
Okay. I mean, he is kind of right as far as the Greek culture thing and all that, but that's not universal. That's more, and same with the military. That's not really universal. That's just kind of an option. The military is really, I mean, that's a rite of passage for boys that don't have a dad or a future. Or if you come from a military family, I guess.
Yeah.
But that kind of highlights my point. I think we desperately need one here in the United States, and it sounds like in the West in general. The Amish Rumspringa is very, very true. But even that, that still comes closer to 18 years old rather than puberty, which is where most rites of passage historically fall. There is kind of a growing trend here in the United States of men that, especially if they have property, that will send their kids out, to spend a few nights alone camping, basically, and taking care of themselves, starting fire and cooking and all of that. Hunting is a rite of passage for a lot of boys here in the United States. A couple that I got Grok to come up with, since some of those were a little obscure for what I was looking for. At age 13, you have a bar mitzvah, of course, for the Jewish culture. Standard
For the Jews.
coming-of-age ritual marking his transition to religious adulthood and full responsibility for observing Jewish law. Typically involves reading from the Torah in a synagogue, often followed by a celebratory party or meal with family and community. The boy is now counted in a minyan, a quorum for prayer, and can participate fully in religious life. This is the universal and expected across Jewish communities worldwide. You have confirmation with Catholics, Orthodox, and some Protestant churches, usually received in the early to mid-teen years, around 12 to 16. This sacrament confirms the baptismal vows and marks the young person's full adult membership in the church, and involves laying on the hands of the bishop or priest, anointing with Christian oil or holy oil, and a public affirmation of faith. For boys, it is widely viewed as a rite of passage into mature Christian responsibility and adulthood in the faith. It is standard and common in Christian majority countries and communities globally. Millions of Catholic and other Christian teens go through it every year as part of a normal religious upbringing. While not every Christian family participates, it is a core institutionalized milestone in practicing Christian cultures. 3, mandatory military service or conscription in countries that require it for young men. In nations with compulsory service for men, typically 18 to 21, completing 18 to 36 months, depending on the country, of military training and duty is near universal experience that functions as a structured rite of passage, emphasizes discipline, physical and mental challenge, camaraderie, and transition to adult responsibilities and citizenship. Happens in South Korea, Israel, Singapore, Switzerland, Norway, and a handful of other countries. So, if you were to identify some of the problems of young men in this country, what would you point out?
I didn't know you're putting me on the spot like this.
Yeah. It's all good. Take your time.
Probably not getting enough physical activity.
For sure.
Not spending enough time around girls. Not spending enough time really
in a
doing things.
Correct context, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Lack of paternal guidance, I would definitely say. Lack of responsibility. You know, you got a lot of guys, even ones that, you know, have kids young, generally on accident, and might even be married. You know, they'll still they might go to work, but then they'll just come home, play video games, right? Spend most of their time doing, for lack of a better term, hedonistic shit instead of handling other responsibilities besides just paying bills. You have a real problem with immaturity. You know, 18-year-old kids these days are laughable to 12-year-old boys 100 years ago. I mean, 12-year-old boys were getting married 100 years ago. Keep in mind, that's because you might be dead by 25, but the point is, you know, we've coddled the shit out of our kids here in the West, and it's been one of our biggest mistakes. On top of that, because I think that a lot of this has to do with the fact we don't have any sort of specific rite of passage. And so what would normally take place at 12, 13, 14 years old, depending on the kid, which is usually something that is determined by, you know, an adult male in their life when they're ready to do it, because it's slightly different for every kid, but it would be sometime around that point. There's no signal to them that it's time to do away with childish things and start becoming a man. You know, certainly in my childhood, with not having my dad around after I was 8 years old, and growing up with my mom after that point, and particularly during these years, you know, there was literally, other than dating, I guess, that was like the only real getting a driver's license that increased my freedom, but and my responsibility a little bit. But there was never a point in time where my dad or an adult male figure sat down and said, "It's time to fucking grow up, kid." You know. And you know, I see this struggle a lot with young men these days, adult men, that they just, you know, they take no responsibility, they have no accountability, they have no particular purpose, they don't know what they're, other than paying bills, that seems to be their only goal, you know, or whatever they plan on buying next. And it's obviously, you know, we don't need to sit here and talk about the negatives of these things. It's pretty obvious that these are not beneficial to the individuals, let alone to society. So I think we need to I started thinking about this because my son is starting to become that age. He's around 10 years old right now, and he's soon going to be, getting to that point. And I started thinking, well, what can I do to signify and kind of celebrate that transition for him. And I think it's extremely important, not just for becoming more responsible and accountable and stuff, but also in teaching the boy that they can be a capable man, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. And that they are capable of doing these things starting now, not at some point in the future, now. And, frankly, I don't even know where to begin with this. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about more specifically is if you were going to create an American boy rite of passage, we might be able to argue that for a long time the Boy Scouts kind of filled this role. For a lot of kids, at least. But it certainly doesn't anymore, especially not since it's now the Boy Girl Scouts. But
the Scouts.
Whatever. I don't even want to give them that level of respect. But if you were creating a rite of passage for a 12, 13, 14-year-old American boy, where would you start?
Man. When you told me about the show today, I didn't know it was going to be this tough.
I mean, there's no wrong answers here.
Yeah. I don't know.
I'll add some guidelines to this. The things that I have thought about so far are that, it has to be a certain level of achievement involved. There has to be a certain number of or not necessarily a certain number, but a certain level of challenge or challenges to it. There also has to be a certain amount of reward to it, new freedoms or responsibilities or whatever that come with it. Not sure that helps a whole lot, but what are the...
I want to think of there's an episode on Little House on the Prairie. What's his name? The dad of the show, he adopted a little boy. They went off to Mankato, I think, and ended up having to work a job at a hotel in Mankato for a couple of months because the town had a bad harvest and they had to find some way to feed the family, Okay. And while they're in Mankato, they meet this little boy who is basically a little heathen, and he's going around stealing from people. I mean, Mankato is just a bad town. It's run by one guy that's pretty much a tyrant, and it's got bars, it's got casino, it's got whores, it's got, all the stuff that you don't want your kids around and stuff. And this little boy ran away from his family and had decided to take up camp in Mankato, scamming people and stealing from people, begging, pretending that his family died in a fire and he's got nothing. But anyways, they end up adopting the little boy throughout their time there. And then by the time they leave, they end up fully adopting him, taking him home with them back to the town where they came from. And so they start living with them out there. And there's another guy, I remember his name is Garvey. He's another man in the town, and he has a little boy that's actually his, but it's the same age as Alvin, the boy they adopted. And they both are getting to the point where I want to say in the show, they're probably 13 to 14 years old. Okay. They're tired of school. They see their dads working out in the fields all day. Their dads work at the lumber mill. They see them, being productive every day, and they want to be like their dads. And so the summer comes, and through the whole summer, They both get jobs working for some people in the town and doing things like that. And when school comes back around, they don't want to go back to school. They just want to be workers like their dads. And so their dads come up with this plan that, okay, you two little boys want to be men. You're not ready to be men. You need to go to school. You need to learn things before you go working. But if you want to be men and you want to be workers so bad, we're going to send you off to basically make them take a 4-day hike to Sleepy Eye, a town north of that town that they live in, which I'm completely forgetting the name of. But
Oh, good.
that's what they did. So they send them off thinking, obviously, this is just going to be hilarious. And they give them, like, they send them off with just their backpacks and fishing poles and tell them, you got to make it. And they're going to send a letter to Sleepy Eye in the mail. It'll get there before you can hike there. And you basically have to go to the post office, pick this letter up, and bring it back to us. And that'll prove to us that you hiked all the way to Sleepy Eye just by yourselves and lived in the wilderness for 4 days. And but anyways, they give them just like a 6-hour, 8-hour head start, and then they start following them so they can keep up and make sure that they don't actually hurt themselves or anything. And the boys end up doing it and winning the bet. But that's kind of what I'm thinking of, when you ask that question. It was a very long explanation, but
No, I think that's a I think that's a good place to start, I guess, would be a good way to put it. I think that something we can break it down by needs, right? What are the things that a man needs to be able to do, particularly in the United States? And these are, of course, core functions, right? I think navigation is important. I think that knowing how and that you can depend on yourself. Matter of fact, let me write these down here as I say them. Is important. I think that feeding yourself and I mean that kind of comes down to depending on yourself, but we'll just put food for the moment. What else? I mean, taking the example you just gave, what are some of the other core?
Determination and will and
Defending, or well, I mean, defending yourself really from whatever that might be. That doesn't necessarily mean from a physical attack. That could be from anything, sickness, disease, hypothermia, from starvation, from whatever it is. And some of these skills are kind of timeless too. The ability to fucking make a fire,
Mm-hmm.
There's I think a mix of modern world needs as well as core kind of survival needs, right? Because at any time you could find yourself lost in the middle of nowhere with nobody but yourself to rely on. And that's always a possibility no matter how modern our society is. So I think that kind of never goes away. And I think it also, aside from a practical need, which may never, need to be used, depending on how much you insulate yourself from that world. But there's also, I think, a primal or instinctual benefit that comes from learning how to build a fire and all of that for a young man. I think that communication would be a more modern, being able to communicate with individuals, get help, get directions, or get somebody to help you with whatever it is you need, whether you know them or not. Being able to read people and know, I should probably not talk to that guy. I should probably talk to that guy because, he's fucking wasted at noon. And this guy looks like he's got his shit together. That sort of thing. I think would be another important. I mean, just reading people in general, I think, is one of the most important things that you can teach somebody to do. That it's one of the most valuable things that you can learn to do yourself. And that doesn't mean manipulate people. I mean, certainly if you learn to read people, you can learn to manipulate them too, but that's not the purpose of learning to read people. Just like anything else, it's a tool that you can use for good or evil. That's up to you. And actually, I'm glad I said good or evil. Maybe a choice between doing the right thing and doing, say, a selfish thing should be part of that.
That was part of that journey too in the show, was they had the choice to walk along the main road and maybe get picked up, by just a stage coming through or just someone coming through, between the two towns, and ride with them as long as they could, or ride with them all the way to the town. But that's why they were also following them, not just to make sure they were okay, but to make sure they took this route to Sleepy Eye that was not, the way that it was supposed to be done. They could just jump on a stagecoach and pretend to be old lost little boys that are just trying to get along and end up there in a day, and then have a day to screw off and either find a stagecoach back or start hiking back, and
right.
So it was a test of their character.
That's a good test of character. I like that. And kind of a test of following instructions, not taking shortcuts. I like this. We're developing a good list here. I think it'll take some time. Obviously, I didn't necessarily plan on coming up with a rite of passage to suffice all American boys in the future at the end of this episode, but hopefully just kind of set the idea out there and be able to come up with it. I'll certainly, like I said, this is something that I intend to do with my son, and so I've got to come up with something, and I intend to share that on the show as I go through it. But let me punch it into AI real quick. See what Grok says on this.
Yeah, punch it in.
Let's see. You were developing a male rite of passage for an American boy in 2026. And then I'll tell you here in a second what the kind of idea that I'm thinking about here, what I'm starting with. What kinds of skills, responsibilities, boards, etc. would you include? All right, let's see what he says. Ironically enough, the other thing I want to talk about, which was etiquette, for lack of a better word, kind of falls into this, because I think that learning proper etiquette and manners and things like that are obviously part of this. That's part of communicating with people and becoming a respectable man. You know, I've talked about before, one of these days I'm going to go through Frost bylaws again on the show, but I've talked about before the fact that I think that the loss of etiquette over the last 100 years is one of the most significant cultural losses that we've had in America, and that we would be wise to just start doing these things again. You know, it's one thing to say bring it back, but you bring it back by doing it. Let's see. Grok says, a modern male rite of passage for an American boy in 2026 would blend ancient wisdom with today's realities. Traditional rites from indigenous vision quests, Spartan trials, Aboriginal walkabouts, or Maasai warrior initiations use separation, rigorous tests, mentorship, and community reintegration to forge boys into providers, protectors, and contributors. Modern America lacks this clear threshold. Adolescence stretches into the mid-20s amid mental health crises, rising anxiety, depression, ADHD diagnosis, and isolation among boys. Educational gaps, economic uncertainty, AI-driven job shifts, and digital overload. Boys need purpose, resilience, and emotional intelligence, and practical competence more than ever. There's some good words there. We already got resilience. I like practical competence. We'll put /common sense. What else did he say? Purpose, resilience, emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. That's one we haven't covered. Okay. And practical competence more than ever. I designed a year-long program called Forge to Manhood, or quote, The Quest, targeted at ages 14 to 17, with ending around 16 to 18, aligning with driving, jobs, or high school graduation. It would be community-led, family and trusted male mentors like fathers, uncles, coaches, or elders from scouting, faith groups, or local men's circles. Scalable for schools, churches, and nonprofits, and inclusive of diverse backgrounds while celebrating positive masculinity, strength, and empathy, independence, and interdependence. By the way, that is probably one of the most significant points of this, is a male rite of passage is not solely father to son. This has to do with being accepted into the community as a man. And so you have to have those other positive and effective male role models in your kid's life if you want to be successful at this. Uncles, coaches, you know, everything that was just listed off there is incredibly important and probably one of the biggest obstacles to this because of just how isolated we are these days. Anyway, core structure, 3 classic phases updated for 2026. First, separation and preparation. Pull the boy from boyhood default, screens, parent coddling, aimless routines. He commits publicly with family and mentors. 2, transition and trial, 7 to 10 days of intensive and ongoing projects. The core ordeal, physical, mental, emotional, and practical tests. Reincorporation and recognition. Communities welcome him as a young man with a new status. That's another important part of this. That's kind of the reward aspect. Skills to master. These draw from traditional survival and craftsmanship and 2026 needs, AI fluency, financial independence, mental resilience, climate awareness. Fuck off, Grok. Boys track progress in personal journal or app. Physical and survival, traditional foundation, fitness baseline plus outdoor skills, multi-day backpacking, basic navigation, fire starting, shelter building, first aid, CPR. Self-defense, basics, and conflict de-escalation, not glorifying violence but emphasizing protection. Important. Practical life and provision, modern provider role. Home maintenance, basic plumbing, electrical, carpentry, auto care, cooking, nutrition, meal prep, financial literacy, budgeting, taxes, investing basics, side hustle, Digital and cognitive. Prompt engineering, ethical AI use, basic automation. Might be a little early on that, but certainly, learning about cybersecurity, privacy, spotting disinformation and manipulation techniques is definitely, I think, important in 2026. Critical thinking, media literacy, logical fallacies, data analysis basics, that sort of thing. And then he finishes off with emotional, social, and leadership. Emotional regulation, mindfulness, journaling, handling failure, stress, addressing the boy mental health crisis, healthy relationships, consent, communication, emotional intelligence, mentorship of younger kids. And finally, civic responsibility, community service project, environmental cleanup, or helping others. Sacrifice would be another good word to include on the list. You have to sacrifice something for somebody else. Mentors guide weekly check-ins, boys apprentice in a trade, business, or skill from their community. Responsibilities to shoulder. Manhood means contribution, not just tough it out. For the self, full accountability for personal health, schedule, and growth. No more mom handles it. Family, lead a household project, build a backyard garden, or repair something, and contribute to earnings. 10% to family savings or to charity. I like the 10% to family savings thing. That's good. And charity as well, but I'm not sure that that's the same as family contribution. Community, complete a service challenge, organize local cleanup, tutor young boys, etc., mentor the next cohort, and register to vote, understand basic civics, economics, and commit to one long-term habit of stewardship. The culminating challenge, a phone-free 7 to 10 day wilderness or urban rural expedition inspired by programs like Next Gen Men or Illumin Rights. Groups of 6 to 8 boys and 2 to 3 mentors. Solo overnight reflection. Journal on what kind of man do I choose to be. Team trials. Build a shelter. Navigate to a goal. Lead to a meal or service project. Solve a real 2026 problem. Use AI to design a community solution or address a particular issue. And an endurance element, physical push like hike, obstacle course, balanced with emotional vulnerability circles, sharing fears and failures, building the interdependence modern boys need, no hazing or unnecessary danger. Failure isn't the end, it's part of the lesson. And then rewards and symbols of recognition. The payoff must feel earned and public. Community gathering, family mentors and peers. Elders speak blessings and testimonies. Boy shares one key lesson, symbolic crossover. Burn boyhood items, receive a manhood token, something along those lines. A custom knife or multi-tool, a journal or engraved watch or ring with a personal motto, digital badge, portfolio. Yeah, we'll skip the digital badge bullshit. Privileges, more autonomy. Access to a car, later curfew, financial responsibility, like starting a checking account with match savings or something. Tangible rewards, like celebrating first paycheck, seed money for a personal venture, formal mentorship network for life, things along those lines, I guess. Annual reunions and service expectations. Manhood isn't one day, it's a lifelong identity. Says why this works in 2026. Tradition delivers the separation, trial, reintegration arc that cultures worldwide used for millennia. It tackles isolation, mental health, EQ, whatever that means, and reflection, economic precarity, and purpose deficit. Draws from successful programs, showing gains in resilience, identity, and reduced risky behavior. Adaptable for urban, rural, religious, secular families, focuses on positive traits, strength, wisdom, service without toxicity. Fathers or father figures lead where possible. Single moms can partner with community men. Yeah, that's very important. You can't fill that role. If you are a single mom that needs to figure out a rite of passage for your son, you got to find a man that is willing to help you with that goal. So I like the idea of it being a longer thing than just a day or a couple days even. I like the idea of preparing them for it and building up to it over time. I like the only thing that I really take an issue with Grok's offering here, or idea here, is doing it in a group. You could certainly do some of it in a group with 2 or 3 boys. Allow, let them work together, let them, experience a leadership role, things like that. I think that that's beneficial. But I think that there has to be a final challenge or something that is 100% on your own, depending on yourself and only yourself, to achieve whatever the goal is. Maybe that's just me, but I don't think you can achieve the same thing in a group that you can solo. And the same is true vice versa, which is why I think, combining the two might be best. But this is pretty similar to what I was thinking. I think there's some good ideas here that help kind of bring it into the modern world a little bit more, as far as doing some community service, contributing financially to, family goals or something along those lines. But I also think that the traditional, having to survive in the wilderness, I think is, like I said, I think there's an instinctual thing there that it doesn't really matter what the modern world is. You got to kind of, it's got to be included. Certainly what I was thinking is something pretty similar to the story that you told, which is more or less, drop them in the middle of nowhere and they're going to survive till they find their way home. And that should probably include a little bit of wilderness and a little bit of having to go through a town or whatever with no money, no phone, no ability to call mom and say, hey, I'm, here, come pick me up, and just figure it out. And hopefully you don't end up murdered on the side of the road, but
hopefully.
I don't know. I'll put some thoughts together on this and see what I come up with, but I just wanted to see what you thought about it. I think that, well, actually, let me ask you this before I was about to wrap up. But let me ask you this first. Do you think that fighting in some sort of way has to be part of it? Like physically fighting? With another person?
Wrestling.
Or wrestling? Yeah. I'm not 100% convinced, but I kind of like instinctually feel like it should be. But the problem is the idea of trying to schedule it, right? You don't generally schedule fights. Wrestling is a little bit different, but what about shooting?
Yep.
I think so too. I think that is absolutely a necessary core competency for an American boy. I think that, whether you like guns or not, I think that part of becoming a man in America should include learning how to appropriately handle and fire a gun. How to field strip it, how to maintain it, all of those kind of basic things. Anyway, anything else you want to add to this?
I think so, man.
All right. Like I said, I'll come back and address it again in the future after I've put some thought into exactly how I think I'm going to go about it with my son, and see what you guys think. You can send me an email at jbu@usa.com if you want to share your thoughts on this, on how you have giving a rite of passage to your kids, or what ideas that you might have. I'd love to hear it. You can, of course, leave a comment under the show to x.com/JBU_show. Or, like I said, the email jbu@usa.com. And you can also find the show on Rumble, rumble.com/user/justbetweenus. And you can find Austin's show where?
MillerTalk.substack.com and MillerTalk_pod on X. Don't forget about our book review. We kind of missed it this week. I know we announced it last time we were live, and we kind of missed it. I had some other things happen, and birthday and stuff, and we'll be back to it this Sunday. Chapter 1, all right?
That is the plan. We have a time, or?
As of right now, I mean, we could shoot for... We regularly go around 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. my time, So
yeah.
Probably somewhere around there.
Early evening, late afternoon, depending on where you're at, of course. That would be, here on the West Coast, that would be like 3, 4 o'clock, something like that. So plan on that.
6 to 7 Central Time.
I'll schedule it on Rumble as soon as Austin and I set a specific time, probably by Sunday morning. So if you need to find out, but follow the X pages, x.com/MillerTalk_pod and x.com/JBU_show, and you will find out every time we go live. If you hit the notification icon. Yeah, I think so, unless you have anything else.
No.
All right. Well, in that case, we'll wait for that. With that, my name is Chris.
And I'm Austin.
And this has been the JBU.Show / Miller Talk podcast.
Bye. Wait, I want to be a little bit louder.
Yeah.
This is only between us.
This is just between us.
This is just between us.
Perfect.